What we're going to do next is set up a unique folder and domain name for a web application built on XAMPP to demonstrate what we would need to do if we wanted to run several independent sites or Drupal installations on this one stack. We saw already that we could put files inside of our htdocs folder, but eventually that's going to get crowded as the number of projects that we have expand. And we've also seen how we can spin up a Drupal site with Bitnami, but we can only have one Drupal site at a time. So the first thing we need to do is modify the Apache configuration to allow virtual hosts. And that's actually a lot simpler than it sounds. We're going to open up the File Explorer, and we're going to go back to the LAMP base folder here. And we'll open up etc and then httpd.conf. This is the Apache configuration. We're going to do a search in this file for vhosts, and we have a line here for virtual hosts, and we're going to uncomment that out by removing the hash symbol. Again, if you have problems with this, it may be that you didn't open the file up as a super user. And so what this says is that we're going to include this file. This configuration could exist in httpd.conf, but it's simpler to separate it out to a separate file. So let's open up this file and modify that. So we're going to open up extra and then httpd-vhosts.conf. This entire content just contains examples, so we're going to remove that all. And the first thing we want to do is create a fallback just in case we access a virtual host whose folder doesn't exist. This is what that's going to look like. There's an opening virtual host tag, and it's everything at port 80, and then a closing virtual host tag. And inside of that, we're setting the document root to the web root that comes bundled with XAMPP, and we're setting the server name to localhost. So if we save this, we're all set up to begin adding additional websites. So at this point, adding a new site requires a 4-step process. First, we create the folder where our website is going to exist. Next, we add that folder as a virtual host here. Third, we add the domain name to something called a hosts file. And then finally, we restart Apache. Let's go through that process. So first, we create a folder. When we installed Drupal via XAMPP, it installed it in our apps folder. Let's go ahead and follow that convention. So I'm going to go back to the opt lamp folder, and we'll open up the apps folder. And let's create a new folder here called Drupal2. That was step 1. Next, we need to add a virtual host. And here's what that's going to look like. So the opening and closing tag are the same as the ones above. We're going to set the document root to the opt lamp apps folder. And then we're going to replace this with the name of our folder. So in this case, it's Drupal2. We also need to use this folder here because an extra permission is required for this directory. So I'll type in Drupal2 here. And then finally, we adjust the server name. So this is the domain name where we can find our website. We're going to set everything up to be at .localhost to make it simple, and we'll call this Drupal2. All right, save this. And now we need to edit our hosts file. We can find that by going to the root directory of our computer, opening etc, and then looking for our hosts file. So I just typed in HOS in order to navigate down, since this is a pretty big folder, and we'll open this up in a text editor. When we add new domains, we're going to use the IP address 127.0.0.1, that's localhost, and then we'll use the same domain over on the right-hand side that we used in our virtual host. So I'll just copy this. I'm going to create a new line under Ubuntu. I'll hit tab, and then I'm going to put Drupal2.localhost, and I'm going to save that. Now the final step is just restarting Apache. So I'm going to go back to the command line, and we could also do this through the manager, but I'm going to type in sudo opt lamp and then space restart. Okay, at this point, we should be able to access our domain in the browser. So I'm going to go to the browser, and I'll open up a new tab, and I'll type in Drupal2.localhost. Okay, so we get this foreboding access forbidden notice, but this is actually a good sign. What we missed was creating a file to display by default in this folder. So let's add one real quick. So we'll go to Computer, Opt, Lamp, Apps, Drupal2, and then we'll create a new index file here. Now, if you can't right-click and create a new document, you can right-click and open in Terminal, and then here you can create a new file by typing touch, and then we'll do index.html.php. We'll hit enter, and now let's open this up and add a little content in there. We'll save it, and let's jump back to the browser and refresh, and we see our content. So through this process, you can create a new folder and domain for each project that you're working on, which is important for isolating out the projects and mimicking the file structure that you might have if you decide to launch this as a production site.